I don't ever slow up, no, I don't take shit. I got no all the past and the
Pause. Before this video starts, I need you to answer one question. Honestly. Is there something in your life you know you're capable of, but keep finding ways to destroy? A goal, a relationship, a version of yourself you almost became, but didn't. If the answer is yes, this is the most important video you'll watch today. Because the man I'm about to show you had more talent than almost any athlete alive, and still found every possible way to fight himself. His name is Jon Jones, and before this video ends, you'll realize his story is actually yours. Wait, did you know his two brothers both made the NFL? And Jon was considered the least likely to succeed?
Built for greatness. Rochester, New York, 1987. A city known more for cold winters than for world champions. Arthur Jones Sr. was a pastor, a man who built his house on discipline, faith, and structure. His three sons grew up under the same roof, the same rules, the same expectations. Arthur Jones Jr., NFL, Indianapolis Colts, defensive tackle. Chandler Jones, NFL, one of the most dominant pass rushers of his generation. Both earned it the hard way through repetition, structure, system. And then there was Jon. Jon didn't follow the same script. Where others needed repetition, he needed instinct. Where others relied on strength, he relied on awareness. He saw openings before they existed, solved puzzles no one else could see. When he stepped into wrestling, then into MMA, the world didn't just notice, the world stopped. But here's what nobody told you. Jon Jones almost quit before his career ever started. What happened next changed everything. He didn't just win his early fights. He dismantled men with decades of experience in minutes, almost effortlessly. And in 2011, at just 23 years old, he became the youngest UFC champion in history. 23. Most people are still figuring out who they are at 23. He was already on top of the world. The rise. March 28th, 2011, Newark, New Jersey, UFC 128. Mauricio Shogun Rua, former champion, feared striker, a legend. Jon Jones walked into that cage at 23 years old and walked out as the youngest UFC champion in history. He said, "I always knew I was meant to be here. The question was never if I could win. The question was how long it would last." Fight after fight, he didn't just win. He made champions look like amateurs. Lyoto Machida, Rashad Evans, Alexander Gustafsson, Glover Teixeira, Ryan Bader, Daniel Cormier, men who had beaten everyone else. Jon Jones beat them all. 12 title defenses, 12 wins, victories over 12 former or future world champions. The stats don't lie. By every measurable standard, Jon Jones is the greatest fighter this sport has ever seen. But here's where most people stop the story and say, what a legend. We're not stopping here. Because in 2015, at the peak of his career, Jon Jones did something so shocking, so unforgivable, that the UFC stripped his title the same week. When you reach the top that fast, something dangerous happens. You don't build discipline. You build belief. Belief that you're different. Belief that rules don't apply to you. Belief that no matter what you do, you'll find a way to win. And for a while, that belief feels true. The perfect enemy. Every great champion needs a true rival. Not just someone who challenges their skills, but someone who challenges their identity. For Jon Jones, that man was Daniel Cormier. Cormier wasn't just another contender. He was an Olympic wrestler, undefeated. A man built on traditional hard work, moral codes, and unwavering discipline. He was everything Jon Jones was supposed to be outside the cage, but wasn't. They didn't just want to beat each other. They wanted to destroy what the other man stood for. The tension wasn't manufactured for pay-per-views. It was pure, unfiltered hatred. In 2014, their brawl in the middle of a Las Vegas casino lobby proved it. The psychological warfare was exhausting. January 2015, UFC 182, the first fight. This was supposed to be Jon's hardest test. Instead, Jon didn't just beat the Olympic wrestler, he out-wrestled him. He took Cormier down, broke his undefeated streak, and broke his spirit. He even said, "I hope he's crying somewhere right now." He had completely conquered his greatest enemy. He had proven he was untouchable. And that was the exact moment the real danger began. Because when you have no enemies left to conquer, you turn the weapon on yourself. The fall. It never starts with a collapse. It starts with a crack. A crack so small, you tell yourself it doesn't matter. April 28th, 2012. Jon Jones is arrested for drunk driving. His car wraps around a utility pole in Binghamton, New York. No serious injuries. Case closed. Life goes on. Or so we thought. August 2014. UFC 178. Las Vegas. Sold out. Jon Jones is the headliner. Days before the event, he pulls out. Not from injury, from personal problems he couldn't or wouldn't control. The UFC loses millions. His team is blindsided. His rival, Daniel Cormier, watches everything fall apart in real time. And then came April 26th, 2015. The night Jon Jones drove away and left a pregnant woman behind. And came back, only to grab the cash. April 26th, 2015. Albuquerque, New Mexico. A car runs a red light, crashes into two vehicles. A pregnant woman is injured. The driver runs from the scene, comes back briefly, grabs the cash from the car, and disappears again. The driver was Jon Jones. He was sentenced to 18 months probation, fined $1,000, 96 hours of community service, and stripped of his UFC title. On paper, a slap on the wrist. In reality, the world saw who he really was. Discipline in a bottle. 2016. Jon Jones returns. He reclaims the title. The world believes the story is back on track. It isn't. July 6th, 2016. Las Vegas. UFC 200. The
biggest card in UFC history. Jon Jones is the headliner. 48 hours before the event, he is pulled from the card. Drug test. Positive. Clomiphene and letrozole. Banned performance enhancers.
Suspended for 1 year. 1 year later, he came back, cleaned up, champion again, and then tested positive again. And what he said next will either make you respect him or lose all faith. 2017, another positive test. Turinabol, an anabolic steroid. The B sample confirms it. 15-month suspension. 2 failed tests. 2 titles vacated. Countless sponsors gone. He stated, "I made a mistake. I'm not a cheater. I've never needed anything extra to be the best." 2 strikes, 2 failed tests. 1 man. Was it cheating? Was it carelessness? Or was it the same pattern, showing up in a different costume? The internal war.
Inside the cage, he was a master. 84.5 inches of reach, spinning elbows, oblique kicks, unorthodox angles. A reach longer than almost any light heavyweight in history. He didn't just win fights, he made world champions look confused. But outside the cage, there was chaos. And that contrast is what makes this story so powerful. Because it forces a question. How can someone be so controlled in one area and completely out of control in another? The answer has nothing to do with talent. It has nothing to do with intelligence. And when you hear it, you might not like it. The answer is simple. Control is not a talent. It's a habit. And habits don't care how gifted you are. They only care what you repeat. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you reinforce the weakness. Every time you ignore consequences, you build a pattern. And patterns become identity. Jon Jones wasn't struggling because he lacked skill. He was struggling because he lacked consistency. Because the hardest part of greatness is not reaching it.
It's what you do on the days when no one is watching. The comeback. But here's what separates legends from cautionary tales. They come back. March 4th, 2023, Las Vegas, UFC 285. 3 years out of the cage, new weight class, new body, new challenge. Jon Jones steps in against Cyril Gane, one of the most technically gifted heavyweights on the planet. 1 round, 3 minutes and 26 seconds. Takedown, ground control, rear naked choke. Jon Jones, heavyweight champion of the world at 35 years old. After everything. And what he said inside that cage with the belt around his waist and tears in his eyes will hit different now that you know the full story. People wrote me off. People said I was done. I came here tonight to prove that I'm the greatest of all time. And in that moment, he may have been right. Not because he was perfect, but because he refused to let his worst moments become his final chapter. The mirror. You.
Now this is where it gets uncomfortable. Because this isn't about Jon Jones anymore. It's about you. Maybe you're not a fighter. But ask yourself, honestly, where in your life
Are you Jon Jones? Because I guarantee there is at least one area of your life where you are brilliant in public and completely out of control in private. And you know exactly what it is. Something you're good at. Something you know you could take further. But you don't. Not because you can't. Because you keep choosing the comfortable version of yourself. You start. You stop. You commit. You disappear. You promise yourself. Then break that promise. And every time that cycle repeats, you lose a little more trust in yourself. That's the real damage. Not the failure. The self-doubt that follows. Because once you stop trusting yourself, everything becomes harder. Your talent doesn't disappear, but your belief in it does. And here's what Jon Jones proved, whether he meant to or not. You can fall. You can fail spectacularly. You can disappoint everyone who believed in you and still come back. Still be the greatest in the room if you decide to.
Jon Jones is not a perfect man. He may never be. But by every measurable standard of his sport, he is the most complete fighter who ever lived. Jon Jones proved something dangerous. You can beat everyone else and still lose your life. You can reach the top and still fall apart. Because in the end, this was never about talent. It was always about control. Control over your habits, your actions, your decisions. Because if you can't control yourself, nothing else matters. Not your potential, not your opportunities. You will always find a way to sabotage your own success. So let me ask you one last time. What version of Jon Jones are you being right now? The one with the belt? Or the one running from the scene? The question was never about talent. It never is. The question is, can you control yourself when it matters? Can you stay consistent when no one is watching? Can you choose the harder version of yourself every single day? Because if you can't, it doesn't matter how good you are. You will always find a way to get in your own way.
Because in the end, Jon Jones didn't just fight opponents. He exposed something most people are afraid to face. That your greatest enemy will always be the version of you that refuses to change. So be honest. Where are you getting in your own way? Where are you choosing comfort over who you said you wanted to become? Comment below. No more excuses. Not for me, for you. Because when you say it out loud, even in a comment, something shifts. And the hardest fight you'll ever face starts the moment you stop lying to yourself.